The coat hanger.
Argos Porum. Smells like cat pee.
I wonder if you guys see it, you know, as a positive thing. Have you guys ever blind bought a fragrance, say it was, I don't know, like $150, $200, and you thought to yourself, why the hell did I do that? I've definitely been in that spot, guys. There's been a number of times in the past where I thought to myself, did I actually need to buy that fragrance, and why did I blind buy it in the first place? So in today's video, I'm going to be featuring, again, lots of like different TikTok blind buy fails, or, you know, different experiences that people have had when they have blind bought fragrances. I really enjoy doing this style of content, guys, so if you do like it, please comment down below, you know, what fragrances you've been disappointed by, or if you've had a successful blind buy, which ones were successful for you guys. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe if you do enjoy it, and we'll just jump straight into it. So the first thing that I want to say straight off the bat is that I have blind bought in the past. You guys know me, and if you've watched my channel for a number of years, you will have known that in the past I used to blind buy. This is going back some years ago now, and since then I've kind of been staying away from it as much as I possibly can. First of all, to kind of avoid disappointment. Second of all, to avoid basically spending money when I don't need to. You know, there will be times when obviously you blind buy successfully, and in those cases, you know, it's really fantastic. And to be fair, we will be running through kind of like the pros and cons to blind buying. I wonder if you guys see it, you know, as a positive thing or as a negative thing. And by the way, I mean, I said this in my last video as well, but it's not for me to tell you guys what to do with your money. I'm not your mother. I'm just trying to show you kind of like different perspectives around blind buying, since it's such a big topic within the fragrance community. And to be honest, like in the last video that I did, a lot of you guys said that, you know, you've had blind buy successes, you've had blind buy fails, you know, you've kind of been through it as much as I have. Fragcom in of itself has exploded with TikTok and with Instagram and all of these different social media platforms. And by the way, I think most people assume that blind buying started from like Instagram or TikTok hypes, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it did start way before then with Fragrantica, and, you know, with newer launches. And there will still be an occasion, by the way, guys, like if there was a new launch of a new fragrance, which for example I couldn't get in the UK, there would be a chance where I would have to blind buy the fragrance. So there will always be occasions when blind buying is not necessarily a necessity, but it is something that can kind of get you the fragrance that you truly want or you truly love. So in those scenarios, you know, blind buying can be a positive thing. So anyway, with that all being said, we're just going to run through a few TikTok videos. We're going to have some fun. It's nothing too serious.
What an absolute waste of money. Blind buying is a dangerous sport, and I have taken a few L's over my time collecting fragrances. Here are 3 recent absolute failures, in my opinion, on blind buys. Number 1, and this one hurts to say, Initio Paragon. I was super excited for this one, caught it on sale at Costco, got it in, and it smells like Carmex. That's right, the yellow lip balm, Carmex. It's exactly what this smells like. It may be up somebody's alley, but it is definitely...
You know, he has a really good point there, and I've completely forgot to like include this as part of the reasons for blind buying, but sometimes fragrances go on for a really decent discount, and in those cases, you know, if you've kind of been fantasizing about that particular fragrance for a long time, you can think that that's the trigger for you to finally blind buy it. And there will be occasions where you will be able to save money as a result, but then the ultimate question is, what if you don't like it and then as a result you're losing money, right? So I think that's kind of what's happened with him, where he's blind bought it based on it being maybe like on a discount or in a sale, and with it being a newer fragrance, and then automatically he's just like, well, what have I done here? I've taken a massive L for what, the sake of, you know, buying this fragrance. And I find it so funny the way he describes the way this particular fragrance smells like. I mean, I don't particularly like that smell. To be honest with you, I don't think I've tried Paragon from Initio yet. I know that they used to be quite a hyped brand within Fracom. There's a lot of ones that personally I don't really particularly like. Put up a picture of it here. I think it was Rehab. That was a really nice fragrance from Initio, and I did also have Side Effect, but since then I've gifted Rehab to somebody in the past, and then I've also swapped Side Effect for another fragrance with one of my buddies. So yeah, it's not really a house that I particularly love. I know they have some really big hitters like Bless Baraka, etc. But I just find them to be a bit chemically smelling. I don't really know like how to kind of like describe them. If you guys like Initio, please comment it down below. I'm actually quite intrigued. So anyway, we'll keep watching. I've kind of interrupted.
Argos Pour Homme smells like cat pee mixed with pickle juice. That is the best way I can describe it to my nose. Little heavier on the pickle juice than the cat pee. So if you like the mixture of those two, you know, hit your boy up and maybe we can work something out. Last but not least, Guerlain Tobacco Honey. The scent is not bad. It's pure honey. There's no tobacco to my nose. There's no spiciness from the beginning to the dry down. This is Winnie the Pooh honey all the way. And for the price tag that this carries, absolutely not worth it, in my opinion. So tell me, what are your blind buy losses? What have you wasted money on?
No, I'm really intrigued by the Argos fragrances. A lot of you gents who watch me, you've always recommended for me to try them. So if there are any really good ones, please let me know down in the comments. I haven't tried that Pour Homme one, so God knows how that smells like. If it does actually smell like cat piss, that's super disappointing. That is a massive L in my eyes, unfortunately. And it's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, sometimes people really like animalic smells. I don't particularly like animalic. I like indolic. I think there's like a slight difference between the two. So anyway, I feel really bad for this guy. I mean, I know it was his own decision, but you know, there's nothing more disappointing, especially when you spend that level of money, particularly on the Guerlain fragrance. Luckily for him, and I think we'll touch on this subject a little bit later on in the video, when it is a popular fragrance or it's, you know, from a really popular brand like Guerlain, then there are ways of going around it, right, where you're not really losing money. So for example, if you're in the fragrance world, you can sell the fragrances to other fragrance buddies or content creators or equally people like yourselves who are just into fragrances. And, you know, sometimes another man's trash is another man's treasure. And in that case, I think, you know, a lot of people might actually really like that tobacco honey fragrance and they will buy it from him. So there are ways around it. You know, you don't have to always have a super traumatic experience every time that you buy a fragrance. But talking about traumatic experiences, I have a video here for you guys which I found hilarious, and that's, again, no disrespect to the guy. I just thought to myself, oh my days, you've done this to yourself, unfortunately, and you've put yourself in this situation and you really hate this fragrance. And I just found it really funny. Maybe he did it as part of a skit. I don't even know whether he's being totally serious here, so we'll just watch it together.
Finally, after saving so much money, I finally got the famous the Xerjoff Naxos. Nah, TikTok, you hyped this up too much, okay? Don't let me down. $300. Please, come on, please. $300.
The coat hanger.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, wait. No. Bro, come on, man. Why? It's gonna mensurate. Yeah. Oh, no, that's gonna mensurate to something worse. Oh my god.
By mensurate, does he mean macerate? Because if that's the case, I think a lot... I don't necessarily believe in maceration when it comes to fragrances. I think they are what they are as soon as you spray them out the bottle, right? I don't think they will get any better with time. There are very, very few maybe out there that could potentially do that, but it's not like wine, guys. It's, you know, it's not like alcohol or different beverages where it can macerate over time and then it gets better. In my opinion, when you get a fragrance, you know, freshly formulated, that is what you get in the bottle. Very few occasions. I've had a couple in my collection which over time have changed slightly, whether they've become a little bit more richer and denser, but apart from that, you know, that's kind of when they lose their top notes as opposed to anything else. That's just by having the fragrances in my collection for that long. But anyway, I thought this one was really funny because I mean, I think he's doing it on purpose, obviously, to create that big of a reaction. it's a little bit overplayed, but it's still really funny the fact that, you know, Naxos is really hyped fragrance for Xerjoff. And by the way, guys, I know this is going back many years now, but I do have a Xerjoff men's video. I also have a Xerjoff women's video, which did really well. So if you guys are interested, definitely watch that one. By the way, don't judge me, that was many years ago. It was like a few years ago now, and I used to be a lot shyer on camera, so if I appear a little bit weird or different, that's probably why. But there are lots of other Xerjoff fragrances which are, you know, really not spoken about a lot in the, you know, in the gents community, in the female community, and it's a massive shame because there are loads of different ones that you can try. And on that subject, when he was like, oh, you know, I bought it on a good discount, so that's why, you know, I got this fragrance and it's massively hyped on TikTok. Fair enough, but do you know what you can also do as well? On the Xerjoff Universe website, there is this option where you can pick, I think it's 4 or 5 different fragrances for 30 euros as samples, and I think that's a really wicked way of getting the fragrance, sampling it first, as opposed to going on a whim, blind buying it, being really disappointed by it. And in fact, in one of my Xerjoff videos, I did start by saying, guys, it's a unique brand, it's a unique fragrance house, and do not blind buy it based on another person's review, because the reality of it is, like, a lot of the Xerjoff fragrances, they are fairly unique, and they have all different types of notes which may not be, you know, so appealing to, you know, mass kind of audience or lots of different people. You do have to dig around in the fragrance house a lot. I mean, they have like something ridiculous, like over 150 fragrances within the house, which is just absolutely mental. And it's like, how do you navigate through all of those fragrances and truly find the ones that you really love? Like, are you going to blind buy absolutely all of those 150 fragrances? I don't think so. So anyway, that's beyond the point, but I just thought it was you know, quite funny the way he had like that reaction with buying that fragrance, because to be fair, Naxos is, to me, I think it's a nice fragrance. It's like a nice tobacco fragrance, and you know, I think it's hyped for a reason, because it is, you know, quite a nice mass appealing fragrance. But if he doesn't like it, that's the unfortunate reality of blind buying. So anyway, we'll move on to another one.
As a former blind buy expert, here are my biggest fails. This is a tropical beachy scent with notes of watermelon and coconut, but to me it smells so plasticky, synthetic, and musty. I actually enjoy the opening of this one, but the dry down is so sharp and metallic, and it is a good dupe of Xerjoff, but I don't like that one either. Now, this was advertised as a dupe for musk therapy, but it smells nothing like it, and a review said it smells like tobacco and tennis balls, and I agree. Black vanilla is my priciest fail. I just dislike how the peach, coconut, and powdery aspects come together here. It's so synthetic to my nose, and it's an absolute scrubber. Thankfully, my mom and sister enjoy these now, but what is your worst blind buy fail?
So first off, I really appreciated her honesty, and I think it takes a lot of guts as a content creator to actually come on and say, do you know what, guys, I was genuinely disappointed by these fragrances. Because a lot of the times, that's when you'll get people say, oh, you know, influencers, they're, you know, completely dishonest, we can't trust them, this is why, you know, we can't really go by their reviews, etc. But I promise you guys, it's a very, very small minority of people who genuinely would lie to you on camera. I think most of us, you know, we do still have it as a hobby. I would say 95% of us earn basically nothing out of doing this hobby. We just do it for the love of it, and I think a lot of you guys will be able to relate and understand it from that standpoint. But I love her honesty, and do you know what, this kind of brings me on to the subject of dupes. Right, hear me out, guys. First of all, what are your thoughts around dupes? Because mine is a little bit weird, like in the sense that I understand why dupes are allowed, I understand why dupes are popular, and I understand why, you know, dupes are kind of spoken a lot about on these platforms. So the first thing is, I personally don't have any dupes in my collection, only because I think there are genuinely inexpensive fragrances out there that are the same amount as dupes, that are unique in of themselves, right? So they're not having to copy another fragrance to exist, basically. The second thing is, I understand why dupes are popular, because they are a inexpensive gateway into buying fragrances which are usually quite expensive and most of the time unaffordable to most people. So I know a lot of my friends, they buy dupes and a lot of them really enjoy it, and in that case, you know, I'm really happy for them and I don't have any qualms about it. The third thing that I want to highlight, and I want to get your guys' kind of opinions about this, right? Do dupes are they actually pure copies of the original fragrance? I don't think they are. A lot of the times when I've tried dupes in the past, I don't think they smell anything like the original. There's only been a couple that I've smelled in my life. Like one of my friends at work, she has a dupe for Lost Cherry from Tom Ford, and that one is quite a close resemblance to Lost Cherry. But then there's others where I think, my goodness, they're like polar aparts, right? Like the notes are completely wrong. You know, even the projection longevity, people assume that the dupes are better performers, but that's not always the case. And the only other thing that I have like a bit of a qualm about when it comes to dupes, not that this is necessarily like a massive deal, by the way. I used to work in the manufacturing industry. We always had to go by IFRA regulations, right? And the reality is, in the UK and in Europe, cosmetics are really highly scrutinized. You have to go through so much testing in order for them to be, you know, bacteria free, you know, allergy free, etc. You have to go through all of these different avenues. And I don't know whether, you know, the imported dupes from all of these various different countries, whether they still have to comply by IFRA regulations, and whether they're on the same portal as the other cosmetics and fragrances within Europe. So my only issue is I haven't researched into it enough to be able to give you like a balanced answer when it comes to this. But what if those fragrances do have some hidden dangers in there, whether that's, you know, they haven't gone through the specific testing, because the testing here in the UK is really high standard, and across Europe as well. So if they've not been tested correctly, are you technically like inviting chemicals onto your body and onto your skin which potentially might be dangerous? And that's not to say, by the way, this is a really blanket statement. You know, I don't know what the rules and regulations are around the dupe brands, whether they do have to comply with these regulations. And maybe they do, which is fine, because the reality is, like, a lot of the fragrances, even the designer ones who do go through a lot of testing, they have hundreds of different chemicals involved, right? And there is like an essence of them being somewhat like not the best for you in the first place. I guess like I've gone on like a proper tangent here, but where I wanted to go with this is with the dupes, whether they are truly close to the original fragrances, and whether they are still safe to use for, you know, the price that you're buying them at. So that's my thoughts around dupes. And I found it really interesting, the fact that, you know, she said, I bought this fragrance thinking that it will be similar to the original, which it wasn't really, and I don't even like the original anyway. So I found that interesting, to be fair. So anyway, we'll watch maybe like one more video, and then we'll round off this entire video when it comes to blind buying, and hopefully get your guys' thoughts around the subject.
Okay, bit of a different video, but I want to talk about this comment right here and how we can avoid being sucked into the hype, wasting our money and blind buying. Unfortunately, this person's experiences will not be unique. I'm sure we've all done that. We've all seen something that's been overhyped, we've been really excited, and we've spent money on it before we've even given it a second thought. I've definitely done it. There's been perfumes that have been crazy viral, I've just clicked it and I've been disappointed. It's especially prevalent now because every time you open TikTok or social media, it's essentially an advert. You know, whether or not the people are intending it to be that way, it is basically advertising. So these are my main pieces of advice when it comes to making informed purchases when it comes to perfumes. And you can apply this to other things, but I talk about perfume on here, so this is what I'm going to be focusing on, and how you can avoid the disappointment. The most important thing is that perfume is entirely subjective. It's the same as taste in food, music, fashion. Everyone is so unique. No two people even smell the same perfume and interpret it the same way. Whereas multiple creators might be loving a certain perfume, you might try it, you might hate it, it might react funny on your skin. That doesn't mean it's a bad perfume, it's just
sums up blind buying in a complete overall sense, where somebody who might find a fragrance really beautiful, another person might find it awful. There are mass appealing fragrances where I guess like the overall population would find it, you know, really nice smelling and they wouldn't be offended by it. But I do like the fact that it is subjective, And you know, and this is what we were talking about before, another man's trash can be another man's treasure. And in this case, you know, when you are blind buying a fragrance, you might really dislike it based on like a trend that's going on, but then somebody else might really like it. So it's like, it's a constant hamster wheel of what are you trying to gain out of, you know, constantly blind buying? Is it for like a dopamine rush? Is it because, you know, it's fun and it's entertaining? Or are you just doing it based on trend-led things, say on social media? I think like most people are half split when it comes to this. I used to find blind buying super exciting, guys. Like I remember years ago when things were starting to get, you know, popular. Like there was this one flanker of Alien that, oh my goodness, it was just all over the internet. It was Alien Essence Absolute. I think it was like the older bottle. I bought it thinking that I would absolutely love it, and I really hated it. I didn't like it at all. It was very medicinal to me. It had like a medicinal vanilla type of essence, a bit like cough syrup. But then over time, I really started to enjoy it. So it's weird, like that initial reaction when I first bought it, I was like, nope, this is definitely out of the olfactive, you know, style that I really enjoy, and I've wasted money. I can't believe that I blind bought this. But then I fell in love with it, and I really regretted actually selling that fragrance because it became discontinued. And then it's one of those coveted perfumes where people genuinely, it's like a treasure hunt where they're constantly trying to find this fragrance. So anyway, I really liked her point about it being subjective, so we're just going to keep watching.
Something we can do to avoid this is sample, sample, sample. I will say this till I'm blue in the face, and I will still make the mistake of blind buying, but try and sample. So I know sometimes a lot of the Middle Eastern perfumes, depending on where you live, can be really hard to get your nose on, to sniff them before you buy. I would say there are so many websites out there. Like in the UK, there's scented samples. There's a lot of people on TikTok Shop who do samples. I really, really recommend getting a sample. And I know it might seem a bit like, oh, I've got to spend 3-4 quid on a sample. It's that, or it's 30 quid on a purchase that you hate. Don't just spray it on a tester.
Completely agree with her, and I've said it for a long time, guys, please, for the love of God, sample. Like, it's only a few quid. I know that there's like delivery included and stuff, but just add in some other samples as well. They will last you a long time, and then you will be able to make that decision of whether you are spending your money, whether that's on an inexpensive fragrance or an expensive one, like what she mentioned with like the Middle Eastern fragrances. What I'll do in the description down below is I will list a number of different sample websites in the UK and worldwide that you can get samples from, and I promise you, it will be very rare that you can't find the sample. So anyway, rather than like keep ranting and going on a super tangent, I just hope that you guys found this video entertaining. You know, if there are any blind buy fails or successes in your life, please comment it down below. I'm very intrigued. All your overall kind of thoughts around blind buying. I really hope that you guys have a lovely week, and I will catch you soon. Bye guys.